I'm trying to understand why people are asking black people about patriotism. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to overstand why people are asking black people about their American patriotism. May I ask a question? To what do black people, I have to ask a question. To what exactly should black people be patriotic? To what exactly should black people be patriotic? Should we be patriotic to Willie Lynch, Jim Crow, 45, 46 presidents that have ignored us and through their silence gave consent for the continued racism, the continued systemic discrimination, the continued bias, the continued inequity, continued benign neglect of presidents such as Hussein Insane, Barack Insane Obama, or a Donald Trump, or even now a Joe Biden who's done nothing for black people, but he wants to come to Tulsa and give a speech at the Black Wall Street Centennial. Passed no laws, no executive orders, but President Biden went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and gave a speech on the centennial of Black Wall Street and how Black Wall Street got burned down and how black people were massacred 100 years ago in Tulsa. Well, guess what, President Biden? Black people are still being massacred in this country right now. Black people are still being disenfranchised in this country right now, President Joe Biden, and you have done absolutely nothing about it. See, I'm tired of us letting white folks skate. I'm tired of us letting white folks skate. They don't do anything for black people now, but they could give a speech on what happened to black people 100 years ago. That is hypocrisy. That is hypocrisy. How dare you ignore the Black Holocaust taking place on your watch right now? How dare you ignore the Black Holocaust taking place on your watch right now, but you will go and pay tribute to a Black Holocaust that happened 100 years ago. If you don't care about black people today, you damn sure didn't care about black people yesterday. If you don't care about black people today, you damn sure don't care about black people yesterday. It's like these white folks who will mistreat black people. You understand? And practice racism against black people and stand by why police kill black people. But you want to talk about how wrong slavery was. You want to talk about how wrong Jim Crow was. You want to talk about how wrong segregation was. How in the hell can you care about my ancestors and not care about me? Somebody explain that to the prince. How in the hell can you not care about my ancestors, but you don't care about me? That's hypocrisy. And I'm tired of black people letting white folks come into our community and mock us directly in our faces. Tulsa, Oklahoma, you don't let Joe Biden come there and give no speech on the centennial of Black Wall Street when we catching hell right now and he's doing nothing about it. But this is what black people do. We let the oppressor come amongst us during our most sacred ceremonies. We will let the oppressor come amongst us during our most sacred ceremonies and mock us to our faces. This is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we do.
We think it's normal. We think it's normal to celebrate Juneteenth one day and then 2 weeks later celebrate the 4th of July. I mean, look at this now. The same Negro beings who were celebrating Juneteenth 2 weeks ago with barbecue, watermelon, and fried chicken are going to celebrate July 4th. Now, for people who don't understand why that's a contradiction, okay, because that's how politically uneducated our people are. Juneteenth was about the celebration of the ultimate end of the chattel enslavement of our African ancestors, the worst dehumanizing campaign in human history, the worst forced transmigration ever recorded in man's experience. So you celebrate the end of the worst Holocaust ever perpetrated against the people. And then 2 weeks later, you're going to celebrate the people who instituted that Holocaust against your ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total contradiction, but that's exactly what Negroes are doing. I'm going to celebrate my ancestors' freedom, and then I'm going to celebrate the freedom of the white man who enslaved my ancestors. That don't make no sense.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think about this new termination that they've come up with, involuntary relocated?
Involuntary relocation, the Texas Board of Education. They've been working on this for years, Bob and David. It's not just Texas. There is a whole movement in this country to protect the self-image of white children. It's all about white privilege.
Don't hurt their feelings.
It's all about white privilege, which is why I tell black people and white folks, don't talk to me about ending racism if we're not going to talk about ending white privilege.
Mm-hmm.
White privilege is the heart and soul of racism. The whole purpose of racism is to do what? Protect white privilege. So what the law says in Texas and many of these other reactionary states that want to bury the truth is it's saying that we don't want anything taught in the classroom that can be harmful to the student. Why are you teaching Christopher Columbus?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you telling black folks about some of the worst things that have been done to them by white folks if you're trying to protect the so-called emotions of children? They don't want white kids to know what their ancestors did that gave birth to this country. So in the front, right in front of our faces, Bob and Dave, right in front of our faces, you have at least half of the state legislatures in this country want to whitewash the history of this country. They're changing the words, they're changing the curriculum, they're changing the pedagogy, they're changing the instructional material, they're changing everything. They do not want white kids to be told that the only reason why this country is great is because we dehumanized the Africans and forced them to work for us 243 years, and then we Jim Crowed them for another 157. We used their inventions, we exploited their intelligence, we exploited their spirituality, we exploited everything that they did to make ourselves great, and then we turn around and lie and say that this is the land of freedom and opportunity, when we never gave the people who built the country freedom and opportunity. They don't want white children to know that truth. And it's not because white children are going to do anything differently. America has this burden of trying to appear to be the moral police of the planet, and at the same time having one of the worst human rights abuse records ever in the history of recorded man. It is a total contradiction. And in order to avoid that contradiction, they're going to do what they always do. They simply rewrite the history. As Dr. John Henry Clark said, they not only colonize history, they colonize information about history. And they're about to do it again right in front of black people's faces.
Right in
and ain't
front of
nobody
your face.
doing nothing about it.
When I saw that, I said, I can't believe this. Involuntary relocation.
Involuntary relocation. Bob and David, you know what involuntary relocation is? That's gentrification. That's what they're doing to black people right now. That's involuntary relocation. Gentrification. Ethnic cleansing of black people out of Philadelphia. Ethnic cleansing of black people out of Harlem. Ethnic cleansing of black people out of Atlanta, out of D.C., out of Baltimore. That is involuntary relocation. Slavery was not involuntary relocation. Slavery was involuntary dehumanization.
I know that's right. Well, you know, they're always trying to revive history to the way that they want history to read. You know,
No commitment to the truth.
If the lion...
One of the core principles of European culture is they do not believe in a commitment to the truth. They believe in a commitment to their version of the truth. Jesus Christ was not white, but we don't want to accept that he was black. So what are we going to do? We're just going to paint him white. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. There was Africans from Africa already living in America when he got here, but we don't want to admit that. We want to maintain the lie that white people discovered the Western Hemisphere. So what are we going to do? We're just going to say them Africans were not here, and we're still going to say Columbus discovered America. 400 years later, we're still talking about Columbus discovered America. 500 years later, they're still talking about Columbus discovered America, knowing that he didn't. White culture, it does not believe in truth. White culture believes in domination.
Brothers and sisters, we must do better. Brothers and sisters, we must do better. So when people ask me about black people being patriotic to America, and when I hear Negroes on TV talk about how they love their country, they say, I love my country. I love our country. What country are you talking about? Are you talking about Nigeria, where your ancestors came from? Are you talking about Ghana, where your ancestors came from? Are you talking about Liberia or Congo, where your ancestors came from? Are you talking about Jamaica or Trinidad? What country are you talking about belongs to you, number one? And what country are you talking about that you love so much? Everywhere I go, I love my country. I love my country. This is what I heard Niggros say. I love my country. I am proud of my country. Well, guess what? I got news for you, Niggros. I got news for you, Africoons and Africans. I got news for you, Africoons and Africans. Since you love this country so much, I want you to understand something. To love a person is to love their history. To love a person is to love their history, because at the end of the day, a country is nothing more than its history, because the country's identity was forged in its history, and the country's reputation was forged in its history. So when a Negro says, I love America, when a Negro says, I love America, when a Negro says, I love my country, he's saying, I love America's slavery. I love America's Jim Crow. I love America's segregation. I love America's eugenics. I love America's mass incarceration. I love America's gentrification. I love America's economic castration. I love America's police genocide. When you say you love America, you love who she is. I love America means I love what this country does to my people. How dare you be black and proud and love America? Those two cannot coexist. I'm not preaching hate. I'm preaching facts. You can't say I'm black and proud, but I love America. Those two things cannot coexist. You can't serve two masters. Many of you are Christian. Jesus told you, Black Christ of Ethiopia, you cannot serve two masters. You will love one and betray the other. You cannot serve two masters. So when you say, I love my country, you July 4th Negroes. You can't wait to cook out July 4th Negroes. You can't wait to get drunk July 4th Negroes. You can't wait for that pork chop July 4th Negroes. You can't wait for the fireworks. You want to see the fireworks? The fireworks was those slave whips and slave chains and slave ships and slave code. That was the damn fireworks. Taking your kids out to celebrate their oppressor's freedom when you were still their slave for nearly another century. Some of you Negroes make me sick. You're not patriotic enough to America. You know how many black men went overseas, fought and died for this country, came back and were lynched in their uniforms? Do you know how many black men went overseas, fought, came back to the country and were lynched in their uniforms? One of the reasons for the red hot summer of 1919 and the red hot summer of 1967, one of the biggest reasons for the red hot summer of 1919 and the red hot summer of 1967 was the fact that black veterans came back to America after serving in foreign theaters of war, came back after giving their life or risking their life or limb, came back to receive segregation soon when they got back home. Came back to receive segregation soon when they got back home. Many of them lynched in the uniform that they nearly died for overseas. Lynched in the uniform. And you want to tell me you're proud to be an American. What exactly are you proud of? The slave master or the slave whip? What are you proud of? The slave ship or the slave law? What are you proud of? The racism or the segregation? What are you proud of? The bias or the inequity? What exactly is a black man and woman proud of when they say, I'm proud to be an American? What exactly do you love when you say, I love America? Help me understand overstand, and understand. Help me understand, overstand, and understand what you're talking about. Help me understand. Help me understand. What do you mean when you love? When I see you Negroes on July 4th at the fireworks, when I see all these rappers and singers performing for the July 4th, 1776 celebration, when I see black celebrities performing for the July 4th, 1776 celebration, what exactly are you celebrating? Do you realize you're co-signing the slavery? You're co-signing the Jim Crow. You're co-signing the Willie Lynch. You're co-signing the Black Wall Street destruction. You're co-signing Barack Obama and George Bush. You're co-signing Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. What exactly are you in love with? My country. Your ass can't even go to the store without the police harassing you. My country. You can't even buy a house without the white folks sabotaging you. My country. You love your country. When did America change? We came a long way. What exactly did we come a long way from? What exactly did we come a long way from? You're celebrating a white man's freedom while you were his slave. July 4th, 1776, Frederick Douglass said it best. To what? What to the Negro is the 4th of July? Frederick Douglass said his bet. What to the Negro is the 4th of July? What to the Negro is